Hey everyone, this is Rich Mogull, Chief Analyst here at the Cloud Security Alliance. Some of you know, you might see my face once or twice before. Anyway, I'm really excited to welcome you to, believe this is the day 2 of our Agentic Virtual AI Summit. So what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to jump right in, and this isn't just a welcome address. I actually want to kind of address some content and talk about Mythos and Glasswing and what we're calling the impending AI vulnerability storm. This is a story that's changing every day. It's not even a story. I mean, this is an event, and it's one that is affecting all of us and is going to continue to affect us for a period of time. Now, for me, it kind of all started on April 8th. The announcements had come out a day or two before. Gadi Evran, our CISO in residence for AI, was like, we should create a briefing on Mythos. Yeah, let's write up a couple of pages real quick. Well, that went crazy. What happened is I wrote a couple of pages, ended up being 5. Gotti added some pages to it. We opened it up to our CISO community. So we messaged thousands of CISOs around the world, and we ended up producing in 4 days the AI vulnerability storm, building a Mythos ready security program, expedited strategy briefing. And full credit to Gotti here. He was really pushing us. Let's get this done. Let's pull the community together and let's have it out the door Sunday night so that everybody could have it in their hands Monday morning, as this was just taking over the mainstream press and getting out there. And I'm not talking about that because it's kind of to talk about kind of our internal process about producing research, but I want to emphasize right here, you can see these are the contributing authors. There were 60 contributing authors, over 250 people reviewing this document, everybody outside of the CISO community, and everybody taking it seriously. So the key takeaways that we got out of this were, and I'll go through all the technical ones here in a moment, but the fact that a lot of very knowledgeable security professionals realize this is a big deal and it's worth us coming together and sacrificing our weekend. Some people literally driving their kids around and on headphones, participating in the calls as we were kind of pulling all of this research together to get this document. So it matters. And why does it matter? Well, as most of you know by now, Mythos is an unreleased model from Anthropic that they released a report showing that it seemed to have a very strong capability for discovering vulnerabilities, developing exploits, and then executing those exploits in complex attack chains. And for us, it's not that Mythos itself is the problem or a problem. It's that Mythos is a key indicator of an evolutionary trend that we've been seeing with the offensive capabilities of AI. And I'm going to actually show you a timeline in a moment on a different slide here. And the takeaway is that what this does is it raises the floor. It allows lower skilled attackers be potentially the capabilities of higher skilled attackers. Now, Mythos is under control. Mythos itself is locked down. It's managed and controlled by Anthropic. It's not like the whole world has it. Similar for the advanced models from the other providers. But what is in these frontier models today, history has shown us, will be available in lesser models and then open weight models in the future. Well, Anthropic said this is a big deal, so we're going to start a program called Glasswing. And Glasswing is a private program to fix as many vulnerabilities as possible in major software that we all use and hardware, because software powers the hardware, as well as open source projects. And working with major critical infrastructure organizations to help get as much patch as possible, large financial institutions, core internet infrastructure providers. Those are the kinds of the organizations. Even their own competitors are part of the program, such as Google. And what we need to care about as the people that use these technologies is that, assuming that all of this is correct, which we have every indication it is, there's going to be a lot more patches coming down the pipeline as these tools are used, as starting with Mythos itself, but then as other tools that have advanced are discovering these vulnerabilities and releasing patches and potentially helping create those patches, but that we, who are the consumers of the technology, we're going to have a lot to deal with as these come down. So again, this is not new or surprising. I wrote a post back in February. You can go look it up, called Core Collapse, where I was assuming that this would happen, and that was, I thought maybe 6 months before it turned out to be only about a month and a half. And this has been talked about by others. So this is the timeline that's actually in the report that we issued, where, if you go back to a year ago, June of 2025, you can see that we had Expo topping HackerOne leaderboard. And as we were advancing, we start seeing these tools in showing up in other vulnerability reporting and creating AI slop vulnerability reports, but then eventually getting to the point where it's becoming real vulnerability reports, ones that are actually good, solid discoveries being reported to, for example, open source maintainers, and eventually leading to Mythos. And that's a really important point to keep in mind here, is because not only is it about discovering the vulnerabilities, but the tools also enable the attacker or enable anyone to develop exploits. And this is the 0-day clock. You can look it up, and it's keeping track of the time to exploit based on when a vulnerability is released. So when patches come out. So in this case, it's the gap between the disclosure of the CVE and then confirmed exploitation. And it used to be, years potentially, and then months, and then days, and now we're down to hours. And this is only accelerating thanks to AI, where you can give it a patch, you can tell it to compare the patch to the actual portion of the code that's being patched, the application, and then can it figure out what happened and determine what the vulnerability was and develop an exploit. We do see these things happening today. And this is really a big part of the problem, because the attackers, those on offense, do have structural advantages over us in defense. So it's not how I've written it on the slide here, but in that core collapse post I did a while ago, I basically broke it down. I kind of was thinking in terms of like math. What's the mathematical advantages and disadvantages of each side? And for attackers, it's because they get an advantage when AI is assisting them, because AI is really good at search problems and exploring graphs. That's the large language models. That's what it's good at. And for an attacker, they have a bounded search problem when they're trying to discover vulnerabilities or create exploits. Discover vulnerability, take this software or this piece of this software, and then you try to find a pathway through to find a vulnerability. And when you find a potential vulnerability, develop the exploit. It's all very constrained. If you want to use them in attacks, take this vulnerability or this exploit, use it against these targets, or use it against a wide range of targets, or here's your one target, take all of these exploits to just see if you can explore the graph and find your way in. It's a bounded search problem. As defenders, we face a combinatorial complexity problem. The problem space that we're dealing with, the problem space that our defensive AIs, our defensive LLMs are dealing with, is much wider. We have to defend against all potential vulnerabilities in all resources from all potential attackers for all time, for unbounded time. And so the problem space that we're managing is different. So even though both attackers and defenders do gain capabilities, where we are today, right now, it provides the attackers stronger capabilities than the defenders. They can operate at a greater scale. They can operate at a higher skill level than they would normally have. They can operate faster with automation, and they can have a wider scope in terms of being able to chain exploits and tie things together that previously you had to be really good to do. Now, I'm not doing this to scare you, because I think Mythos is a turning point. And I think eventually the tables will flip more in favor of the defenders. It's a problem now because we have all of this stuff out there that hasn't gone through this hardening process. Why are we looking at all the different ways that we can help organizations around this now? Well, Mythos, it's a turning point. It had a few things that it demonstrated that really showed that there was a step change in increasing capabilities that we hadn't had before. One was it could develop exploits without scaffolding. Many, if not all, the exploits that at least have been revealed by Anthropic can be discovered using lower models, or not the frontier models, but using other models with scaffolding in place, with different kind of toolings and steps and things to support the model. However, Mythos showed that it was able to find these without the scaffolding. or with less scaffolding. So it gives a substantial increase in the autonomy and the reliability of the exploits and making that exploit development more accessible. The other thing Mythos could do is it could do complex chain vulnerabilities, and it could do this as a one shot in some cases, single prompt capability. Basically, everything Mythos can do, to our knowledge, can be done using other models, including open weight models, the kind that you can run at home if you can afford the GPUs, which are really hard to find these days. Ask me how I know. So anything that Mythos can do from what we've seen, can be done with other models with all the right tooling, with all the right stats, with the right expertise. But Mythos raises the floor, and you don't need to have as much expertise anymore. You don't need as much of the scaffolding. You can just be a non security expert and actually still find those vulnerabilities, develop those exploits, and execute on those attacks. And so, what are our expectations? Well, what we believe is that Mythos, what it can do today, other models, and especially the open way models, will be able to do later. Is it tomorrow? Is it in 6 months? Is it in a year? Is it 2 years? I don't know. But if we watch the evolution of large language models, we know, when ChatGPT 2 came out, we thought, oh my God, this is too powerful. It's too scary. I mean, that's just widely available, and you can probably run them on your phone at this point. So we are going to see this capability appear in more places. I don't worry right now about attackers, adversaries getting Mythos. It's Anthropics. This isn't code somebody can steal and then run on their Mac Mini at home. It's really needs to be run on that purpose-built infrastructure, on that purpose-built neural network architectures. It's not transportable. It's not transposable to other places. But eventually, those capabilities we know, following the evolution, will appear in other areas. The next is that we know that lesser skilled attackers gain better skills. They're not more skilled, but they'll be able to use these models and these capabilities to execute more complex, more advanced attacks. And the phrase I've been using is 0 day every day. And I'm not doing this to scare. It's just the fact that by the nature of what Glasswing is, we're going to see more patches coming out on a regular basis. Attackers can more quickly determine out how to exploit them. We're in for a rough transition period. And our goal as security professionals, as the defenders of our organizations, is to maintain the security equilibrium. And the fact that Mythos is not widely available today, the fact that only the good guys have it, provides us with a window of opportunity to go ahead and prepare and maintain that equilibrium. Now, Glasswing's a bit different. Glasswing's that program where those vetted organizations it's expanding out even to some researchers and stuff, have access to Mythos, subsidized because apparently it's really expensive. And they can use that to find and remediate vulnerabilities in their own products. So I think we can prepare to expect waves of patches coming out from the Glasswing participants. It's going to be an open source projects. It's going to be a closed source commercial projects. And the challenge to us and organizations is it's great that AI can help us find these vulnerabilities and develop patches, but there's only so much it can do to help us deploy those patches without breaking things. And this really is a consistent, constant problem that we face, those of us on the defender side of the world, which is where my career has been, that we have to be able to patch these things without breaking our infrastructure, without taking down our applications. That's not always the easiest thing to do in the world. Plus, we're going to have things that can't be patched. Um, or operational technology, for example, or older database servers that have been running for a long time that are no longer supported. Our vendors may not patch all of the old stuff. They may just focus on more of the current product. We don't know exactly how all that's going to play out. But those are things that we can prepare for. We can prepare to patch more efficiently. We can prepare to segment and compartmentalize things that can't be patched to make it harder, add more security barriers for those attackers to come in. And we can be prepared to, in terms of our patching cycles, to maintain our operational resilience. So I don't know who came up with the term. As we were building this document, somebody called it the Mythos Ready Security Program. And I love that term for now. Really what we're talking about is more of an AI attacker or whatever ready program because Mythos eventually be out there and no one's going to care about it anymore because it'll be like, the old models. It'll be like Haiku is today or GPT-3 or whatever. I don't know. Uh, but I love for now because now we have this window. We have this period of time where we can prepare our security program to harden ourselves and be ready for this future. And how are we going to do this? We're going to do this through resilient architecture. This is about increasing our security boundaries within our organization. Uh, every security boundary adds combinatorial complexity to the attacker. So the more boundaries that we can put into place, think things like implementing zero trust or 0 day your call. Those are the things that are going to make life a lot harder for the attackers that don't require us having to patch everything and can help us in this for situations like where we can't patch on older or fragile systems. We need to be very proactive in our discovery. Let's find the vulnerabilities before the attackers do. Guess what? You can use these models in your pipelines today. The current models can discover a lot of these things. Somebody I was talking with today who had some insight into some of the newer vulnerabilities was able to rediscover all of those using older models just with more scaffolding. So those are actions that we can take today. We need to be prepared for more rapid response when things occur. Take advantage of things like use canary tokens, honey tokens to find things faster. But AI is for defenders in the security operations center. That's one of the first areas that we've already been seeing a lot of the benefits of using LLMs. And then let's AI accelerate as many of our teams as we can. We need to be able to empower those teams. And look, agents aren't going to solve all the problems. AI is not going to solve all the problems. I'm not telling you to go buy every AI widget your vendors are selling, but your team, this is the technology of the future. Even if there's a market bubble and a market burst, it doesn't matter. We already are seeing way too many benefits to the use of the technology in different facets and different ways of our organizations. So we need to be prepared and empower our teams to use these technologies themselves. Now, what are the key takeaways for the CISOs? And these are all directly out of the report. But as I mentioned, right now, today, you can start using LLMs in your pipelines and doing vulnerability discovery if you're the kind of organization that's writing your own software. I actually do this myself. So I'm currently writing some software for our members here at the Cloud Security Alliance. It's actually a pretty large platform. And every single piece of code goes through an LLM security review and it finds a lot of stuff and it's fixing stuff before I ever get it out the front door. We need to update our risk metrics and our risk baselines, your assumptions about exploit timelines. And I'm going to talk more about this on the next page as we talk about how to communicate this to your board. But those need to change. Your time to patch. If you're thinking that you have, 90 days to patch a high vulnerability in a public facing application, you don't. That's going to change and you're going to learn, we either prepare for that and we manage it or we're going to learn the hard way. Accelerated AI agents I talked about, being prepared for more kinds of incidents. These are the kinds of things you can do. Engage your IR teams, perform those tabletop exercises, talk to your leadership, your non-security leadership, get to the rest of the organization so they understand that this you're going to be facing, again, the risk baseline changes. You're going to be facing more complex attacks from a wider range of attackers. And what's our best defenses for that? A lot of it's just the basics: segmentation, patching, identity management, multi-factor authentication, defense in depth. I mean, even with all this craziness and all these potential 0 days, at least today, the primary source of breaches we see are compromised credentials and info stealer malware. And so that doesn't go away. It's just that it's the AI tooling potentially that's helping the attackers exploit that. But they're always going to go for what's cheapest and easiest on their side, as they should. We all want to go the cheap, easy way. And so our basics, our hardening, good segmentation, those are going to go a long way because every one of those, as I said, increases the complexity for the attacker and starts getting the math to equalize out on both sides of the equation. Now, right now, especially as we're dealing with a lot of this, you do need to prepare potentially for burnout on your teams. And you're going to need, if you have a lot of patching and you have a lot of older stuff in your environment, you're going to need more people, potentially contractors or more time. You can't wring it out of your team by telling them, go patch this 20-year-old application that has 25 off the shelf software components that nobody even issues patches for and don't let it crash. Well, you need to give them the time. You need to give them the resources to get their job done. And then evolve towards mythos already. Some of the things that we're talking about, there's way more in the report. There's only so much I can talk about in my 20-ish minutes that I've got here, and build collective defense. This is where organizations like us, we try and play a part. I hope we help by issuing this report and the other research that we've got around this, but engage with your ISACs, engage with your certs, get with the standards bodies, work with organizations like the CSA and even others like SANS and OAS who are going to really try and pull our community together so that we can work together to deal with this. Now, what do you tell your board? Those of you that have to communicate up. Well, first is the shift. It's all about our existing, we haven't done anything wrong, and that's really important. It's not that we've done anything wrong, is that our baseline risk assumptions have changed. We built effective security programs with certain assumptions around the nature of attacks, the timelines and patches and exploits and updates. Those are changing, and those are changing in measurable ways. And the report includes a lot of those examples. And we're getting to a point where over time, lower skilled attackers, almost anybody, will have the ability to discover exploits and perform complex attacks. But the good news is AI accelerates both sides of this. We have this window now with Mythos, and we can find and fix and harden using those same tools ourselves. And in fact, we have access to the tools that the little script kiddies don't have access to because they don't have our budgets that we can use to harden our environments. And we can also accelerate our security operations and improve those. But we do need to take advantage of this window of opportunity we have right now. We need to be aggressive. We need to ask for funding. We need to ask for the headcount to do this. We're going to get back to an equilibrium. Mythos and Glasswing, they're here, but they're under control. It's controlled program for Glasswing to get those patches out the door. Using Mythos as one of the tools to help find and fix these vulnerabilities at scale. It might end up being the largest collective vulnerability disclosure process ever. We don't know yet. We'll see how those numbers pay out. And it really is all designed to give us, the defenders, an advantage. And we've seen already OpenAI has made their announcement about this. Google is out there patching open source projects or working hard to help organizations get as much of the internet patched as possible. Because the thing is eventually we're going to be reducing the number of potential vulnerabilities that are out there. It's going to be harder for the attackers, and we get back to equilibrium. And we have the tools. But what's even better is we have the community. That's why you're here today. That's why so many CISOs jumped in and contributed to that report, that we're able to make that available within a few days of the first day. Maybe we need to do something. As a community, we can pull together. We can share our knowledge, our learnings, the techniques that we're using. We can work together to secure the open source and the core infrastructure providers and software that we use to run the internet, to run our businesses, and to keep our families safe. I think it's an incredibly exciting time. Yes, there's going to be challenges, but we know where the world is headed now, and it's on us to take advantage of that, to work together and make everything more secure. And I know you believe that because you're here. So it's time for me to stop talking and time to let you guys get to the rest of the event. Thank you, and feel free to contact us if you've got any questions, and if you want to go ahead and download the report.